Hello, my name is Allie Robertson, and this is my second video titled Putting a Boy on a Pedestal. Essentially, why I wanted to talk about this was just because I realized it was super prevalent in our generation because it's happened to me. So, I know it's a thing of girls my age. Just kind of like you see a guy and he has all of the outside characteristics that you're looking for, and you're like, oh my gosh, he surfs. Check, he's got a great group of friends, awesome, he's super cute, he's tall, oh, he plays an instrument, like, wow, he's designed for me, like, this boy, like, I will date him because, like, he's obviously, like, made for me, like, he matches all the things, like, I was looking for, when in reality, I was like, well, have I ever really gotten to, like, know him, sit down one-on-one, what's his family like, what are his values, what is, like, all these things, before I've stopped and been like, oh yes, I will date him. Like, I value so much about him already. And like, I haven't even met the kid. Like, I kind of know him, kind of things like that. And so I feel like that is just a little example of kind of like, I think a lot of things girls in our generation do nowadays. So just kind of like things to be aware of is what we're going to talk about to promote healthy habits. Am I right? All right. So let's jump into it. Point number 1, be aware of how often you entertain the idea of this perfect person. So, you catch a glimpse of that boy that you're like, oh, he's it, he's the one designed for me. Every time you let him take another lap around your brain, you're making him better. You're literally putting him higher up on a pedestal. He's climbing steps every time he takes another lap in your head when, like, I'm sorry, that boy never deserved to climb those steps. Like, yes, he could be great, but you have not yet to get to really know him to give him that value yet. So just be kind of on guard for, how many stairs you let them gain, without earning them. If that makes sense. So point number 2, notice the compromises you make for that perfect person. So say in your head you've got a list of like 10 values, and before you ever saw this person you're like, I would never even consider a boy that doesn't check off all these 10. But you're like, wow, this guy, he has like 3 of the things, he probably has 10. And so you're like giving him the benefit of the doubt when like he hasn't even made it halfway. Like, you have to have time to like get to know these people, and that takes lots of time. Like, that takes kind of like months. Like, so the idea of like all of these super short fickle relationships is kind of a myth. Like, it really is kind of a myth. And so it takes time, and just to not compromise your values for the things that look good on the outside and the things that your friends are hyping you up about, because your friends hyping you up is dangerous. Let me tell you, very dangerous. The second you get into a group of girls and they're all like, oh my gosh, he's so cute, you're like, wow, you're right. Like, I'm going after this. When like before you were probably like, I should probably just get to know him, take it slow. But then your friends are hyping him up and you're like, oh, it's game time. When like, okay, calm down. Like, it's just like stuff to be aware of. So then number 3 is notice the power you give that boy. So kind of like just the power over your emotions, specifically. So say this is just like a testimony of mine of experiencing the emotion kind of thing. So say I asked one of my really good friends, to hang out, and they're like, hey, sorry, I can't today. Like, I'm busy. I have a lot of homework, this or that. And I'm like, oh, of course, don't worry. Genuinely in my heart, I'm not hurt. I agree. Like, they had homework, they have other stuff they need to take care of. Like, it's fine. I'm okay. But the second I text that boy that I was like, oh, he's a perfect boy. And I'm like, hey, you want to hang out? Or do you want to go grab food or coffee or something? And they're like, hey, I can't. I'm busy. I have homework, this or that. I'm like, ouch, that hurt. But it didn't hurt at all when it was like my true friend. So that's just odd. Think about that, because I'm sure we've all done that. We're way more hurt by this perfect person than we are by our genuine friends because we know their character. Meaning we don't really know their character yet, so they don't deserve those steps. All coming together? So let's move on to the next little thing I wrote down, just saying that it's a lie to say someone who you are attracted to affects your emotions equally to your friends. So that was just something like I highlighted, just that we kind of talked about. But it's just like, you have to know that this boy is going to affect your emotions different than your genuine friends are. And you have to be aware of that. And then you have to, when the second, something happens and for the rest of the day, you're just kind of bummed out. You're like, oh, I wonder why I'm bummed. You're like, you trace it back to like, wow, that person said they were too busy to hang out with me. And then you start internalizing it, and it's all this like sad, no one likes me kind of thing. And that's not ever what it was intended to be. The person literally had homework. And so it's just kind of like bringing everything back to home base, and like not every time, those laps are taken in your brain of this perfect boy and all of these things, it has consequences. Every lap has a consequence. And so just, being aware of how much you entertain the idea, being aware of the compromises you make for them, and then being aware of how it affects your emotions more than some of your friends might. Okay, then we'll jump down to the next point, which is point number 4. So sometimes in your brain, once you have the idea of this perfect person, you start to think, they start to genuinely creep into your head more than you think. And it's super subconscious, and like you don't really admit it, but like sometimes you're like, ooh, I'm gonna listen to this song because I know they love this genre, and if they catch me listening to it, they'll think I'm super cool, blah, blah, blah. And like just right then, did you even really like that genre? No, you would much rather listen to something else, but you're like, oh, I'm gonna start listening to this to like get their attention, blah, blah, blah. Bing, 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 that's more compromise that you're making from your genuine self before they've ever earned that spot. They've never earned that spot. What if they love that you love that genre? Like getting to know them, it's going to take months before you really realize what they value and what they like. And on the surface, if you hear them listen to this few couple of songs, maybe they like that, but maybe they love that you like this. And you don't ever need to compromise what you love for what you think they're going to like in you, to essentially like make yourself look cooler on the outside, or make yourself just like look more attractive. Like, if you're not about that, don't fake it. Like, the relationship is, once again, going to turn out not good. So just kind of like the forefront of relationships is super important. And I think not a lot of people in our generation value how important the beginning steps are. It's kind of like, ooh, let me just rush through the beginning and make all of this mess, and then I'll clean it up once I get what I want. That takes a lot of time, a lot of hurt, a lot of brain space, like we don't have that kind of time to waste. So on to number 5, the friend hype dangers, which I kind of touched on before. Just kind of like, I remember back to that same guy that was just kind of like my experiment from that story I was telling. So I like went home and I was like, oh, he's so cute, all these things. Like, what do you guys think about him? I was like, he's all right, he's cute, da da da. And they're like, he is the best guy ever, blah, blah, blah. You have to date him. Every time they saw him, they sent me a picture of him, weird girl stuff. And they would always hype him up. They'd give him nicknames. And like, I was like, dude, I don't even know this boy for real. Like, we should not be doing this. This is super unhealthy. Like, so it starts to make me think like, oh my gosh, I need to go for it even more. And then that plays more into my emotions of like, now it hurts even more when he doesn't pay as much attention to me, because my friends are now even paying attention to him. I like have a posse of people paying attention to this boy that has never earned the attention. So careful. So there's this quote from Hamilton. I love musicals, and Hamilton is just hands down, wow, a masterpiece. And so there's Angelica. If you've seen Hamilton, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. In one of the songs in the soundtrack, it says, "What might have happened if I hadn't sized him up so quickly?" And that's the quote from the song, and I love that quote because it's like applies to this perfectly. So basically, it's like her sister, she introduced Alexander Hamilton to her sister, then they started having a relationship and all of these things. But it's because like in the beginning, she sized him up so much that he was like this perfect guy. So then when he started flirting with her sister, she immediately was so crushed and like couldn't be genuine around herself. She was nervous. She genuine around him because she was nervous and she wasn't being herself. And so she's like, what might have happened if I hadn't sized him up so quickly? if I had let it naturally go? What could have happened? Big question. Wisdom from Hamilton. So number 6 is just kind of like, have they earned what I've given them? And you have to stop and think about it all the time. Like, have they earned that space in your head that you've given them? And then your mental space and like what's going on in your brain is super important. And like that space is like expensive. Like, think of every ounce of your brain. It's like, that's expensive space. That could be your space where like, you know, you're thinking of like what you want to do in your career, where you have like genuine dreams, where you have time set aside for your friends, where you have your like homework and essays. Like, your brain is super valuable and like you need it for a lot of things. So the second you start to give parts of it out for free to this boy just to live in this one corner of your head, that's taking away from something else. And so you have to know, like, do not sell that space away. It is not free. Like, you cannot just like give that away if they haven't earned it. If they start to earn it, oh, by all means, let them have that space. But just be careful about sizing stuff up a little too quickly. And the idea of, you know, this perfect guy and being able to kind of compromise your list of things that you value and you care about just because he aligns with like, ooh, my friends, ooh, the internet. You know, just be aware of all these things. So this was a pretty short video, but it's just some stuff that's been in my head recently for a while, and I thought it's super important to get out, especially to like younger girls growing up, that, you know, don't compromise your values for guys. It's really not worth it. In the end, the relationship's not gonna work. Like, taking it slow and natural and like telling yourself like, hey, I gotta stop thinking about him. I maybe shouldn't tell my friends about him yet because he's not really a thing yet. Maybe, you know, like all those things that just seem fun in the moment, you know, like they actually hold a little bit of weight. So just kind of giving them the weight they deserve. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll probably have another video out soon. And subscribe to my channel. Awesome. Well, I will see you guys later.